Okay, I wanted to show you a gusset heel on adding a actual pattern, and this one is a cable crossing, and what happens is you cross every other row. Okay, if there's a crossing every other row, or it's even when you do cross it, you keep that in mind. Okay, so the last thing I did was where I knit. Okay, so I knitted the areas that were cabled. Okay, and I'm going this direction. So no matter which direction you're going, you want to make sure that when you're doing the cabling, so you don't have to mentally flip-flop, that it's going to be going the direction you're going. So my row for starting, say, the gusset heel with the flap, to start with the flap, I'm going to be going this direction. But if you're going this direction, keep in mind that you want to be able to cable going that direction and then doing the knit back. Okay, that's something to keep in mind if you're going to do a stitch that has cabling in it or something. What's going to make it easiest to keep up with how the stitches are moving, okay, when you're fixing to do it flat. The other thing is we're going to be splitting the loom in half. Okay, we're going to be working back and forth. Well, this is 36 peg loom. Divided in half, it's 18. You take 18 divided by 3, and it's 6. Okay, that means that we're going to be taking 6 stitches off here and 6 stitches off here, which will make 12, leaving 6 stitches in the middle. Okay, because that's going to be taking off those 6 stitches, we know we need to do 12 rows. Okay, now that's how I've kept up with it. 12 rows has to get done. Okay, because the cabling is happening right on where that marker is, I'm going to go over 1 into that purl section. It won't make that big of a difference. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show you how to go in and do a flap with a cabling. So I'm knitting 3. I'm skipping the first one, lifting that up, moving that one over, and then putting that down, knitting 2. So if you want to follow this, this is based off of a alternate version of Tom Swindler's toddler cable socks. So just so you know, if you have that pattern, you can take and do this heel with it. It's associated with it. Okay, so skip the first stitch, the first peg, knit the second, take the second off, move the first peg over to the second, and put that one that you knitted down the first. Then knit 2. Okay, and then we're going to purl 3. Okay, skip the first one, knit the second one, lift up, move the skipped stitch to peg 2, and peg 2 stitch to peg 1, and knit 2. Then you're going to just purl 1. Okay, and that gets us started, okay, on our flap heel. Now we're going to go back this direction, and we're going to do the whole. Normally you do short rows and it gets shorter and shorter. With this, we're going to be knitting flat, and we're only going to be using half the pegs on the loom. To keep in mind, it's half the pegs on the loom when you're doing a heel flap and gusset heel. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to skip. Okay, kind of try to do things a little looser on those skipped ones, because you're going to be bringing them back up at some point. So you're going to work back the other direction, knit 3, purl 3, knit 3, purl 3, because this is that row in between. And this will be row 2. Obviously not my smoothest direction. Okay, now this is row 2. You're going to skip that first one, keep that in mind. You're going to skip that first one, and then I'm going to purl 2. And then because I'm cabling every other row, I'm going to knit the first one, skip the second one, knit the third one, lift the third one up, move the second one over to peg 3, so stitch 2 to peg 3, and stitch 3 to peg 2, and knit peg 3. Okay, and then you're going to purl 3. This is going to be row 3. Okay, knit peg 1, skip peg 2, knit peg 3, pick up peg 3, move stitch 2 to peg 3, stitch 3 to peg 2, knit peg 3, purl 3. Knit peg 1, skip peg 2, knit peg 3, pull off stitch 3, move stitch 2 to peg 3, stitch 3 to peg 2, and knit peg 3, purl. Okay, now we're going to skip the end one, and this is row 4, okay, which means we're going to do this 4-row set 3 times. And remember that you're skipping on the ends. This is beneficial when we go to add this section back to the loom, okay, on the ends. And I'll show you how that works. Okay, so, and then you're going to skip that first stitch, and then you're going to probably, and this is row 5, okay, and then you're going to go back to the beginning when we were doing the skip peg 1, knit peg 2, okay, and you're going to do this 4-row set that we just did a total of 3 times, because that makes 12 rows, okay. Now, something to keep in mind when doing the gusset heel. However many pegs you normally would try to get your wrap and turn, your single stitches between your wraps and turns for, count up those number of pegs that you would actually wrap and turn, okay? When you count up those pegs, however many wraps and turns you would normally have if you were doing a short row heel is how many rows you're going to do, okay? And you count up over this side and this side, and that's how many total rows you're going to do the flap, okay? And that way you know how this is, what this is here. What this is flap. Okay, so if you're wanting to do something that is like a short row heel, but you want to try this gusset heel, keep in mind that however many times you would wrap and turn on both sides, count all your wrap and turn pegs up, and that's how many rows you're going to do. Okay, so whatever your total wraps and turns would have been, how many rows you're going to do. All right, and that means skipping on each side when you get to the end to start back. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and complete two more 4-row combos, so that you have a total of 12 rows, okay, because we're going to be taking off a total of 12 stitches off the loom. So go ahead and do the rest of your heel flap following the 4 rows that I just showed you, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we finished our 12 rows. We should be ending up back over here, or you should be, if you're doing the other half of the loom, you should be ending up over here. Okay, so what comes next is we need to take off 6 stitches on this side and 6 stitches on this side, which means we will need some stitch holders. If you do not have stitch holders, you can take a coat hanger, which is about this thickness here, and you can cut it down to, I would say the smaller sizes are better for the gusset heel that's about, 3 inches or so. But you can take a clothes hanger, a wire clothes hanger, and you can cut it down to size, and you can basically make you one of these. And I'll try to find some time to do a tutorial on how to do that. But for now, I'm using 2 different stitch holders. In the future, I'll show you how to do make a stitch holder from home if you don't have access or don't know where to find them. Okay. Now here's the trick. When you go to take off the 6 stitches, make sure that you work from the outside in, okay? And the reason being is when you work from the outside in, you're going to be slowly adding these stitches that you're taking off to the middle 6. Well, it's going to be 7 stitches because I did 19 to get that cabling even. So you're going to take off 6 stitches. You're going to go the outside to in. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And I'm going to close that off. Now, you will see that I have my working yarn over here. I need to get it over onto the 6th stitch side so I can take the stitches off. So go ahead and just do what you had been doing just to get it over there. And I wouldn't say you need to cable just to get it over, so just knit 3. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm just going to go ahead and purl that extra one. Purl it my way over. To my stitch marker on the other side. So I'm just going to work it all the way to my stitch marker on the other side. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take my other stitch holder and I'm going to add my outer to inner stitches in. We're going to take off 6. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Okay, we've taken our 6 stitches off on each side, and then we have the certain number in the middle. Okay. Now we're going to be slowly adding these outer stitches back in. There I have total 6 stitches. Okay, so 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then a total of 7 in the middle. Okay, now what you're going to do, since your working yarn is over here, we're going to be knitting everything at this point, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this last stitch off of here and place it onto the end peg. Okay. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to knit it all the way across. And if you recall, when you go to add your wraps and turns back in to do a short row heel, you're adding one back in at a time with each row. You're doing the same thing with this. Okay. So we've added over here. Now we need to come over here and we need to take off our last stitch and add it onto the loom. And there it is. Now we're going to knit our way over. And this is how this works with any gusset heel. You're going to add one with each row on the side one at a time. Just like if you were adding wraps and turns back. Okay. Now we're going to take and go to our other side and add the next stitch at the end back. This is a tedious method, but it can give you results that you might like a heel better done in, and it can allow you to extend the design all the way down to the bottom of the heel. Okay, so go ahead and knit your way over. And toss both loops over. Okay, now it's time to go back to this side. And what you're going to do is you're going to continue to do this until you have no more stitches on each stitch holder. So go ahead and pause the video and get all these stitches off both the stitch holder, and then we'll go in on how to close up the gap that's in here. Okay, I have just completed my heel. Okay, and you'll see that you have that indentation there. Okay, and that's your heel. I'm going to kind of stretch these out so that we can see what we're doing. What makes that skipping that we were doing on the 12 pegs easier? As you can see, these notches here. See that? Those notches are where you're going to be picking up from to put back on the looms. Okay, so you'll see a notch there and you'll see a notch there. You're going to pick that up and put that back on the loom. Then you're going to see, and I'll try to show it as best I can, but there's a bridge between that notch there and that notch there. Here's the bridge. See? As best you can. Put that on the loom. Okay. There's a notch there and a notch there. You're going to pick up the bridge and put it back on the loom. And what that skipping does is it makes it a very clear bridge, you see, that you put back on the loom. And it makes it so much easier to close in the gap that you made. Okay. And one more. Okay. And then you'll notice that, hey, suddenly the gap's closed. Okay. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. There's a notch, there's a notch. There is your bridge right there. Notch, notch, bridge. There's the bridge right there. And there's the bridge for that one. And there's the bridge for that one, and the bridge for that one. Okay. And now you have just completed the heel in its entirety, okay? And that puts in the gusset part. Okay, now that we know that we've got the bottom half of the foot usually going to be a simple knit and the top is going to be whatever design you want, you'll know that the half section here, your 18 pegs are always going to be knit. Okay, so to finish up the row, you're going to knit your way over. And I'm going to keep up with my purl, which this one's going to be the purl one. Okay. So remember how you started. We started with a cable, so don't forget when you go to do the front half, that's going to be a cable. Okay. More. So that was purl 3. Okay. So we're going to skip peg 1, knit peg 2, take the stitch off, take stitch 1 to peg 2, and stitch 2 to peg 1, and knit peg 2 and 3. Skip peg 1, take knit peg 2, take the stitch off, move stitch 1 to peg 2, stitch 2 to peg 1, knit 2 and 3, purl 3, skip peg 1, knit peg 2, pick the stitch up, move over, and pegs 2 and 3. And then normally we would start with a purl. We're just going to knit the first 18 and then we'll continue the pattern that we've been doing. And so that's how you would go about doing a gusset heel all the way down with a, say, cable stitch. Again, this is a gusset heel version of Tom Swindler's toddler cable socks. I will post a link on how to purchase the pattern, what it looks like, and so that if you want to try this heel with that pattern design, you can. But I'll make sure that I put the imaging at the end of the video and everything. But that's how you do a gusset heel with a cable pattern all the way down to the end.